Hey, Nick, I've always been fascinated with actors who have to deal with fame for the first time. When Rich Man, Poor Man came out, were you amazed that like people from your past, did it come out of the woodwork to wanting to get reacquainted with you?
Well, I'll tell you the experience with that. Before Rich Man, Poor Man, I had an old 49 International truck, and I was trying to get a new starter for it. But, you know, it was an antiquated truck, so I had gone down to the parts place, and they said, oh, you know, we'll order it, but, you know, it may not be here for a year or something like that. And my friend Rocky was with me, and so we went back and we worked some more on the truck, and Rich Man, Poor Man came out, and I got this call from the parts place. They said, hey, Nick, we got that starter, come on in. And I went in, and they said, gee, hey, Rich Man, Poor Man, look, hey, sign this and sign that. And he says, hey, here, you can have the starter, you know, no problem. And it was an expensive starter because it's antiquated. And as we were walking out, Rocky said, you know, isn't that the weirdest thing? When you're poor, they won't give you anything, and then when you have the money to pay with it, they give it to you. It doesn't make any sense at all. And my son has said, you know, he did Ransom, so he did several films. After Ransom, he said, you know, Dad, he said, I don't know if I like this fame thing at all. It's not, he said, maybe a little bit is all right, but he said, you know, you get a lot of friends you don't know. And that was his observation. Oh. Because you remember in school there were cliques, and after that film, all of a sudden he was in all those cliques, and he couldn't understand why they didn't like him before. Now they liked him, you know. So.
You know, I've always been really fascinated with actors' early films and the lessons they learn. You did a film with Don Johnson years ago.
Return of Me, I don't know.
What did you learn from that experience? And when the film pops up on TV, how do you view it now?
Well, you know, at the time that was an Arkoff production, and what I learned from it is, you know, I just enjoyed doing the film. There are earlier films than that. There's Big Foss, Little Hawsey, there's The Riot, there's Death Valley Days, there's a Walt Disney film in '65 called The Feather Farm, where he played the lead to an ostrich, you know? So there's also an LSD documentary done before LSD was illegal. But what do I think about it? Not much specifically. The only great story I've heard about that, what you're trying to get at, which I'm avoiding, is Paul Newman told me once that when he's done a film that he thinks is particularly bad, he takes the film and about every 3 or 4 years gets all his friends together and screens it, and they all have a bunch of fruit with them and tomatoes, and they throw it at the screen. You know, they just have a jolly good time with it. I have no personal opinions about the past.
I was thinking about people like Clint Eastwood, Burt Reynolds, actors who aren't normally known for doing musicals, who were gutsy enough to try musicals.
Mm-hmm.
When this film was a musical, when you were considering doing it,
mm-hmm.
how nervous were you about pulling it off, and did a lot of people try to dissuade you about sticking with what you were used to?
No, you know, I already done a musical, Weeds. You know, I sang in Weeds. So I had no qualms with that. This script, you know, when Jim gave the script, it didn't have musical numbers in it. It just said there will be music here. There will be some movement here. So, and as we went along, we devised the music. You know, the script was always, the movie was always just this movie, you know. We tried to do music into it, you know. So I didn't have qualms. What you're thinking in terms of, a lot of people think in terms of, is musical comedy, you step out and sing a song. No, that wasn't it at all. I had one song with my daughter, but it was about acting, and it was about a situation, and all it required is that I be honest with it, sing it honestly. You know, I had to hit notes, but it's not Streisand.
there are a couple of scenes in the movie. One when you're on the radio telephone, and there's artillery going off in the background behind you.
Right.
And I could not even imagine the noise level when you were doing that scene. How difficult?
Well, Terry wanted full loads, which we did, and I thought it was great because, you know, the percussion was so much that the grass would fly and you could feel the shock wave come, and it was tremendous. And after about the third take, you know, as we were doing it, they were all standing over there and the camera was over there, and so all the crew and everybody was standing over there, and we were doing it, and I looked over and we just finished, and I saw them all jumping around like this, and I thought, what are they doing? Well, all of the insects in this area had fled because of this percussion going on, and they fled through the grass and found the first thing that they could crawl up to get off the ground, and these tropical spiders and ants and centipedes were just going up people's legs, and they were just running around knocking them off. That's how powerful it was. I didn't have a bug on me, you know, because they thought I was the Jolly Green Giant, you know, the big guy, boom.
Well, you know, your character is kind of a manipulator in the film, and
Yes.
you have some full-blown screaming at people scenes, and I was just thinking how exhausted you must have been. I mean, how many takes before your voice gave out doing this movie?
It didn't, but they were full emotional scenes, yeah. You know, you're tired afterwards, yeah, but the voice stayed pretty good.
Now, the military, I mean, you're famous for, like, preparation. Now, the military advisors that you worked with, how fascinating for you to watch these guys and the input from them.
Well, I didn't work with them very long, simply because, you know, I was born in '41 and my father was in the Pacific. So my research, I went back through all of his stuff. And he's been dead for quite a while, but I went through his medals and all the articles of where he was and all of this kind of thing. And that gave me a personal touch to the war. But then I worked with Dale Dye for a couple of days. He flew down to Florida where I was, and we just went through what a colonel is about and what he's trying to achieve, and that was the extent of it. And then, of course, I was very intimate with all of Jones's work because I was going to play James Jones in a film called A Soldier's Daughter, which didn't happen because I couldn't get out of the, I couldn't get out in time to get to Paris to do, which Chris Christopherson did, and I hear he's wonderful in it.
On a lighthearted note, we're doing a feature on the Oscars, and
Yes. Lighthearted. How can the Oscars be lighthearted?
there's so much written about what the designer outfits that women wear to the Oscars.
Yes.
Now, as a guy, how much thought do you put to what you're going to wear when you attend the Oscars?
I've only been once. And I'll tell you the experience about that. When it becomes Oscar time, and if you're a nominee, a lot of designers hit you. Where are my clothes? Where are these clothes? Where are these clothes? Where are these clothes? And since I've worn Armani clothes for years, sometimes, you know, I combine Armani with medical pants, you know, wear what's ever comfortable. Armani said, look, I'll design you a tux. I said, fine. Yeah. But I don't go to the Oscars. I don't think you go unless you're nominated.